I am Nebuchadnezzar, and this is my story. Stand with me on the roof of my palace in Babylon, in the cool of an evening when the Euphrates catches the last orange light and turns it to fire. Below me, the hanging gardens breathe out the scent of myrrh and wet cedar. Terrace upon terrace, green climbing toward heaven itself, watered by wheels my engineers built, so that even the desert wind cannot dry what I have made grow. Beyond the gardens rise the walls, walls so wide that 4 chariots could race abreast along their top. Walls I built thick enough to mock any army that dares dream of breaching them. The Ishtar Gate gleams below, its glazed blue bricks catching torchlight. Lions and dragons marching across it in gold relief. My name pressed into the foundation stones themselves. I did this. My hands, my will, my glory. I had not always stood so tall. I remember, decades ago now, riding beside my father Nabopolassar, when Babylon was still clawing its way free from Assyria's grip, when we were hungry and dangerous and unproven. I remember the taste of dust at Carchemish, the screaming of horses, the moment I understood that Egypt's chariots would break before mine. I was young then and afraid, though I never let the fear show on my face. A king cannot let his men see him tremble. I learned to bury the trembling so deep that even I forgot it was there. Now there is no fear left in me at all, only certainty. I sit upon a throne that touches the edges of the known world, from the Persian Gulf to the Great Sea, from the mountains of Elam to the borders of Egypt. When I speak, nations rearrange themselves. When I am angry, I have thrown better men than you into fire. You have perhaps heard of the 3 Hebrews who refused to bow to my golden image, and how their God pulled them out of my furnace without so much as the smell of smoke on their robes. I saw that. I saw it with my own eyes, and for a moment, standing at the mouth of that furnace, my heart had gone strangely quiet, the way the air goes quiet before a storm. I had even decreed in that moment that no one should speak against their God. But quiet moments pass. Power has a way of talking louder than memory. It was in the stillness of the palace, months after that furnace, that the dream came for me. I was asleep in my chamber, the linen cool against my skin, the night breeze moving the curtains like slow breath. And then I was not asleep at all. I was standing inside the dream the way a man stands inside a room, and I saw a tree. It was no ordinary tree. Its top touched the heavens. From the ends of the earth you could see it. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and beneath it the beasts of the field found shade, and in its branches the birds of the sky made their nests. All flesh was fed from it. I remember standing before that tree and feeling something I rarely allow myself to feel, a kind of childlike wonder, watching it stretch further than sight could follow. Then a voice broke the sky. A watcher, a holy one, descending, and he cried aloud, "Chop down the tree, cut off its branches, strip off its leaves, scatter its fruit. Let the beasts flee from under it, the birds from its branches." And then the strangest command of all, leave the stump, bound with a band of iron and bronze, in the tender grass of the field. Let him be wet with the dew of heaven. Let his heart be changed from a man's, and let a beast's heart be given to him, and let 7 times pass over him. I woke with my chest heaving, sweat cold on my brow despite the warm night. I lay there in the dark, and for the first time in years I felt the old trembling rise up from wherever I had buried it. What is a king if his own dreams can shake him? By morning, I had summoned every magician, enchanter, sorcerer, and astrologer in Babylon into my hall. I told them the dream. Not one of them could give me its meaning. They stood shuffling before me, robes rustling, eyes darting to one another, each hoping another would speak first. None did. My frustration burned hotter than the sun over the ziggurat outside. At last, Daniel came in, Belteshazzar, as I had named him, after my own God. I had known him for years, since he was a young captive brought from Jerusalem, and I had come to trust his wisdom above all the others, though I rarely let myself examine why that was. Something in him was different, steady, unafraid in a way that had nothing to do with pride. I told him the dream, and I watched his face change. He said nothing for a long, heavy moment, an hour, it felt like, though it could only have been a breath or two. His eyes fixed on some point beyond me, his jaw tight. Belteshazzar, I said, do not let the dream or its interpretation alarm you. He looked at me then, and there was something almost like grief in his eyes. My lord, he said quietly, may the dream be for those who hate you, and its interpretation for your enemies. Then he told me plainly, the tree was me. My greatness had grown and become strong, till it reached the heavens, and my dominion to the ends of the earth. But I would be driven from among men, and my dwelling would be with the beasts of the field. I would eat grass like oxen, and be wet with the dew of heaven, and 7 times would pass over me, until I learned that the Most High rules the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomever he wills. Therefore, O king, Daniel said, and I could hear how carefully he chose each word, as a man walks across ice. Let my counsel be acceptable to you. Break off your sins by doing righteousness, and your iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, that there may perhaps be a lengthening of your prosperity. I said nothing. I dismissed him, and I told myself I would consider it. But pride does not consider. Pride waits for the warning to grow quiet, and then goes on exactly as it intended. 12 months passed. 12 months of feasts and building projects and tribute pouring in from conquered lands. 12 months in which the dream sat in the back of my mind like a coal I refused to look at directly, because I feared what I would see if I did. Then came the evening that undid me. I was walking upon the roof of my palace, this very roof where I have stood with you tonight, and the city spread out below me in the dying light, the ziggurat of Marduk rising like a mountain of my own making, the canals threading silver between the houses, the hum of 100,000 lives I had ordered and protected and ruled. And pride rose in my chest like floodwater, and before I could stop myself, I spoke the words that changed everything. Is not this great Babylon that I have built by my mighty power as a royal residence and for the glory of my majesty? The words had not even finished leaving my mouth when a voice fell from heaven, not a whisper, not a suggestion, but a decree with the weight of mountains behind it. O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you. I do not know how to describe what happened next, except to say that I felt my mind leave me the way a lamp is snuffed out. One moment I was a king standing on his roof. The next, something inside me simply went out. I do not remember walking down from that roof. I do not remember the guards' faces, though I have been told since that they wept. I remember only fragments after that, the way a man remembers a fever, mud between fingers that no longer felt like a king's fingers, grass, bitter and wet, torn from the ground, and eaten because some animal hunger inside me demanded it. Rain on skin I no longer thought to shelter. My hair grew long and matted like eagle's feathers. My nails thickened and curled like birds' claws. I do not know how long I lived that way. Scripture will tell you it was 7 times, 7 years. Most understand it. Though in my own mind those years pass the way a dream passes, without measure, without days, only a long gray blur of dew and grass and animal terror. And yet, even in that darkness, even with a beast's heart where a man's had been, something in me was not entirely gone. There is a moment I do remember, clearer than the rest, breaking through the fog like a single star through cloud. I was on my knees in a wet field, the moon high and cold above me, and something ancient inside me lifted my eyes toward the sky. I do not know how to tell you what happened in that instant, except that reason returned to me the way breath returns to a man pulled from deep water. And the very first thing my restored mind did, before it grieved my lost years, before it feared my lost throne, was bless. I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored Him who lives forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing, and He does according to His will among the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one can stay His hand or say to Him, "What have you done?" I wept then, not the weeping of a broken animal, but the weeping of a man who has finally seen himself clearly, small and dependent, and utterly undone before the God who made him. I had built walls no army could breach, and He had unmade me with a single word from heaven. I had boasted of my mighty power, and He had shown me that I had none, not truly, not apart from Him. My counselors and nobles sought me out in the field. I have been told they searched for months once whispers came that a wild, grass-fed man wandering near the city spoke and moved like their lost king. When my reason returned, my majesty and splendor returned to me for the glory of my kingdom, and my counselors and my lords sought me out, and I was re-established in my kingdom, and still more greatness was added to me. I walked back into my own palace, a different man wearing a king's returning body. The gold was the same gold. The gardens still breathed myrrh and cedar. But I looked at them now the way a man looks at borrowed things, beautiful, temporary, held in hands not fully his own. I am Nebuchadnezzar, and I tell you now what grass and dew and 7 lost years taught me, what no army or architect or astrologer ever could. Heaven rules. The Most High sets up kings and brings them low, and those who walk in pride He is able to humble. I praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all His works are truth, and His ways are justice, and those who walk in pride He is able to put down. If a king who built Babylon with his own hands can be brought to eat grass among the oxen and rise again only by mercy, then hear me, whoever you are, wherever pride has quietly built its own tower in your heart. The same God who humbled me is the God who lifted my eyes back to heaven when I could do nothing but kneel. He does not delight in your ruin. He delights in bringing you home to Him. Bow willingly now in whatever field you stand, and you will not need 7 years of grass to teach you what one honest moment before Him can teach you tonight. If you have been blessed by this story, subscribe, like, and share it with a friend.